Yeah, so I wanted to do an updated jump tips. Already messed it up. I don't care, getting right into it. I haven't done a jump tip video in a long time, since the very first vlog, I think it was, where I just gave advice, and a lot has changed since then. A little bit of my thinking and just I've learned a ton, so I'm just gonna get right into it. First of all, I definitely still think you need to jump a ton. That hasn't changed. You'll always be jumping, even when you're weightlifting. Jumping is number one, especially if you're beginning. The first thing you need to do is just jump a ton. Jump till you're dead, jump for months, jump every day, go hard every single time. But the main thing that has changed is I am now thinking in a way of cycles. So, and it really takes into account listening to your body and what you need. So for me, there was a point where I just wasn't jumping higher, and I was jumping a ton, and I felt really good jumping, and I would have really good days, but I didn't really feel like I could jump higher by just jumping. And I learned a lot from jump science and different videos online about weightlifting, how it increases your potential and things like that. So you need to get stronger. And I used to say it was good to lift weights, but I used to use lifting weights more for stretching. But now I know, since I'm kind of at an elite level where kind of like above 40, I would say, is where you need to start really weightlifting if you want to make those elite gains, things like that. But so what I like to do now is do a cycle of weightlifting and then a cycle of explosiveness, which is just a lot of jumping and plyometrics, and just focusing on what my body needs at that time to increase my potential and increase my vertical jumping. So what I did was I went through a lifting phase where I still jumped, but I was focusing on getting stronger. And you want to get stronger, but you don't need to do crazy heavy weight. The point is you just need to get stronger. And the hard part for me was stop jumping as much and focusing on the strength, because I always want to jump and I always feel rusty when I don't jump for a while. So I came up with a little plan, which was lift 1 day a week, jump light in 2 days, and then have a full session in 2 more days after that. And that worked for me. And I wasn't really making jump gains, but I felt like I was getting stronger. I felt like I was getting sluggish, which is why I stayed away from jumping initially before I got into weightlifting and things like that. But it's a good thing. It's like, you need to get stronger and get those muscles, and then you adapt those muscles to be explosive. But by getting stronger, you're building that potential for your body to fire and generate more force to jump higher. So one other thing that I learned while I was lifting and got stronger, I hit PRs in my squats and my hip thrusts. So those were very simple indicators to tell me that I got stronger. I just lifted heavier weight that I haven't been able to lift before. So that's really easily defined. But then after that, I tried to jump right back into jumping and dunking, and I felt awkward. I felt like I was stronger, like my drop step and my slow approach jumps were jumping higher easier. So like, for example, a 10-foot rim, I was like walking up and almost dunking, even though I suck off the dribble, mainly just like my rim grabs. Even when I was warming up, they felt easier, and my warm-ups felt higher. So I didn't need like all my speed and my full approach to jump, which has always been my case. I always jumped my best. There was always a big disparity between my vert and my standing vert and slow approach and my full running approach. I used my speed a lot. So now my power was getting there, and that's where listening to your body is very difficult, but it's very important. And I say difficult because even when you're listening to your body as carefully as possible, sometimes you can misread it. So you have to listen to your body, and sometimes it's trial and error. So sometimes I felt like I needed to go explosive, but I just couldn't, and I needed rest or something like that. Or I felt like I was jumping high because I had more power, and I was generating more force and getting higher on slow approach one-step jumps. But even though I was jumping higher, I needed to do more speed work. Like, I felt more explosive, but I needed to do more speed work to be able to translate my speed and momentum into my jumps to jump higher. I think that makes sense. Okay. So what I did then was some plyometrics. The field work was really good. I feel like it's really good to take a day, at least a week, to do some field work barefoot, because your feet need to be really strong to handle that force. I felt like I was powerful, but my legs literally couldn't handle that much force I was generating. So when I tried to run full speed and do a full approach jump, I felt like my form was breaking down. I would plant and I would like jump sideways. I wasn't really engaged. So I did some plyometrics. I focused on a lot of speed work, tried to do some sprints, and just did more jumping. And the reason I do field work too, sprinting and things like that, and 1-foot stuff, is because I was very ingrained in my one path. So I kept jumping the same angle, not always the same angle, but the same approach. So if it was from any angle, I was just like a couple steps, 2-foot jump, couple steps, 2-foot jump. So if the toss was a little off, I jumped terrible. So by doing the field work and like catching a football and jumping side to side, I felt like my lateral movements got better, my muscles adapted and got a little bit more athletic. And I just did not feel athletic coming off that strength phase, but it really felt good once I got into a groove and felt good. So more on listening to your body. It's really hard to tell when you're fatigued and when you're just need to go harder. I always go harder like 3 or 4 times before I realize I need to, or kind of understand that I need to rest, because most of the time, I'd say like 75% of the time, all I need to do is push harder. And that's the hard part about when you're making gains, is like every time you make gains, the next gains are even harder to get. It doesn't continue at that same rate. So beginning, you're gonna make good gains, but when you get up to like the higher levels of vertical, like 40s, 42, 44, you're gonna have to push even harder to jump harder, because you're generating more force, but you have to keep trying 100% using that force. Because if you can now, I don't know the numbers, I don't know science, but say you can generate more force at a 44-inch vertical max than you can at a 40-inch vertical, you still have to jump 100% and you still have to push more force. So you have to push harder, if that makes sense. It's kind of like logically you have to push more force, but it's just harder to exert yourself even harder. So you can't jump with the same intensity you did when you were jumping lower. At least that's how I feel. So I had to take a step back and really work on my athleticism and get super lean and really focus on my diet, which is basically this, which I'll get into this now, is on my jump days, I'll wake up and have a big breakfast, but a healthy breakfast, mainly eggs and maybe some turkey bacon just for some protein, and maybe some carbs right before I go to the session, maybe like a granola bar, things like that, yogurt and granola. And then after, if I have a really long full session, I'll just load up on protein and maybe a little bit of carbs just to replenish. And then main thing for me is small meals when I'm not working out. So when I'm recovering, like if I just had a big session, I'll recover with a lot of protein and a little bit of carbs. But you don't need carbs if you're not working out or not dunking or things like that. So try to stay away from that and just eat meat and veggies. That's the simplest way to put it. Just eat lean meat and veggies, and try to eat healthy meats. Don't eat like fast food. It's just not as good for you. And if you eat bread on things, try to eat the healthier bread. Just think of the carbs, or especially like refined carbs, I think it is, and stay away from sugars a lot. Sugar's the main one too, is a huge one. Just cut that out completely. You don't need that at all. Don't drink juice, don't drink soda, drink water, dunk life. So don't eat things that are excess. The big one for me is excess, like overeating. So like I could easily eat a huge meal and just enjoy it. That's what I did on vacation. But then the next day I kind of tried to eat smaller meals. So small meals when you're not working out, especially the next day or anything. Only load up on big meals before a session, like a few hours before a session, and maybe after to recover. But other than that, try to keep the meals healthy and light. Just eat when you're hungry. Try not to eat snacks when you're not hungry. If you're hungry, have a snack. Have some like vegetables are a great snack. Some like maybe peanuts or granola or things like that. Anything healthy. Just stay away from sugars. Sugar's the big one. Fats don't worry about too much with meat and things like that. Fat's not that bad. Sugars just really not weigh you down, but really turn into fat quick. Anyway, back to jumping. Always set a little goal for yourself where to touch. I still think that's the best way to do it, or throw a lob or push yourself. For me right now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to push myself to jump from further, and because I'm just jumping higher, so I'm trying to reach new distances. I'm trying to get my elbow in the rim on a 9-9. That's like a new height for me as well. And just get consistent off the dribble. My dribble dunks have gotten better since I've gotten stronger, just because it's easier for me to bring the ball up, and my drop step has been getting better. So once I get my full approach, gradually build that up, and just know yourself too. Like for me, people always say I'm going really slow on dribble dunks, but that's very deliberate, because when I try to go fast on a dribble dunk, my form breaks down and my ankle twists weird, my knees feel weird, I take off weird. So I really have to go slow, and I gradually build them up. So on my best day when I'm feeling great, I'll be aggressive and I'll take off and I'll have some decent dribble dunks, but I still dunk them weird. They're not as good as my one-handers off the toss, but I'm working at it, and I'm always working every session. Try to work on everything every session, and just focus on what you need. And when you rest, I think 2 days is the most amount of rest you need. Especially like if you come off like a big couple of sessions, just try to test your body. So if it's like 2 days of rest and you really think you need a third day of rest, just go out there and kind of warm up and see how you feel. Push yourself to like the limit, and then meaning like a max jump, and if your max jump still, like you get fully warm, do a max jump and it still feels terrible, take that day off. But even today, I took 2 days of rest from my session 2 days ago, and I went out there and my aggression just wasn't there. I got a little bit of aggression, but everything was super fatigued, and I think it was because I traveled a lot the day before my last session. Then I went hard somehow on my last session, and it's kind of catching up to me now. So I'm gonna try to rest now, rest tomorrow, and then hit it hard when my body feels active again. But what else was I gonna say about jumping? I think I pretty much said it. The cycles are the main thing I want to focus on. So like now I'm in a jumping phase, which is a lot of fun because I just get to be athletic and I don't really have to think as much. I don't have to lift heavy weight and worry about like form and things like that. Just jump, but I do have to focus on hitting all the aspects. And that's another thing I want to talk about is go hard in every aspect, even if it's discipline. Like for me, discipline is with food and also with resting and not going too hard, because when I have a bad session, it's really easy for me to go harder and push harder and just go the very next day and push myself and try to break through. But sometimes you need to take a step back and let your body recover. So when I know it's confusing, that's the balance. I say don't rest too much and always go harder, but if you just went hard the day before and you just had a bad day, but you put the effort in and you went really hard, then you don't need to put the effort in the next day. My point is, if you felt like you didn't put enough effort in, or you took it easy the day before and you said I didn't do that great, or you just didn't feel it, like then you should go hard. But I think always go hard. But if you went hard and you pushed yourself and you know you pushed yourself, like today, I wasn't aggressive, but I still pushed myself to 100, got a couple good decent attempts, but I just know I feel fatigued, and I had a good session the other day, and I know what I'm capable of, and I know my energy levels. That's what listening to your body comes back into play, is that you know how hard you push yourself. And if you just push yourself really hard, then you could rest. But even then, you can go hard with the active recovery. It's always something you can go hard at. So I'm going hard at active recovery, which is tomorrow. I'll probably ride the bike a little bit, maybe go swimming, but really go hard on my mobility and stretching and just really take care of my body, and go hard at sleeping, resting when I need to, getting a good sleep. Don't stay up late, because even if you stay up late and get 8 hours, it's not as good as going to sleep at the right time. So try to go to sleep when you feel tired. Just listen to your body, things like that. So just go hard in every aspect. It's not just a day on, day off type of thing. It's dunk life. It's a lifestyle. That's what you have to do. I hope this helps. I think that's it for now. If I think of anything more, I'll just do another one. Check out the podcast. This will be an audio version as well. If you're listening to it already, great. If not, there's other podcasts too where I talk to other people. Many more podcasts coming soon. Better videos coming soon. Catching up on my videos. Hopefully this is going to be in between the other videos just because it's easier to post. I have a lot of footage to go through. Much more coming. Dunk life. Let me know what you want to see. Ask your questions. I'll do more of these videos. And let's get it. Dunk life, baby.